It was one of those gray, drizzly March afternoons. I was sitting in my cubicle, staring blankly at my monitor, the cursor blinking on a spreadsheet I hadn't touched in an hour. My phone buzzed on the desk. A text from Mia. "Hey honey, at my annual physical. Might be home a little late." "Okay. Hope everything's good." I typed back mechanically. We've been married for 5 years, and she got a checkup every year like clockwork. It was a good habit, but for some reason, this year a knot of unease had been tightening in my stomach all day. At 4 o'clock, I clocked out early and headed home. The apartment was silent when I opened the door. Mia's designer handbag was tossed on the couch, but she was nowhere in sight. "Mia," I called out. No answer. I walked into the bedroom. The sheets on our king-size bed were a mess, and a faint, sweet scent hung in the air. It wasn't the perfume she usually wore. Frowning, I headed to the kitchen for a glass of water when I heard the shower start in the master bathroom. "Ethan, you're home." Mia's voice came through the door, laced with a strange hint of panic. "Yeah, how'd the physical go?" "Oh, I won't get the full report until tomorrow." I walked to the bathroom door, her silhouette a blur through the frosted glass. She was moving quickly, almost frantically. "Didn't you have your appointment this afternoon? You're home pretty early." The water ran for a few silent seconds before she answered. It finished up, and I was exhausted. I came home and took a nap. I didn't press her. I just walked back into the living room. The zipper on her bag was open. As I passed the couch, a corner of a small, white paper bag from a pharmacy caught my eye. It had the familiar red logo of CVS. Curiosity got the better of me. I reached in and pulled it out. The prescription label was stark and clear. Plan B 1-step. Directions: take 1 tablet as soon as possible. My hand started to shake. By the time Mia emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a fluffy white robe with her hair dripping, I'd already put the bag back, exactly as I'd found it. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch ESPN. "Honey, what do you want for dinner?" "I can make something," she said, toweling her hair. "Whatever's easy is fine," I said without looking up from the TV. During dinner, Mia was unusually cheerful, constantly asking about my day, piling more food on my plate, and chattering about drama at her office. "Oh, right, we have a new VP at the bank. His name is Mark Collier. He seems pretty sharp." I put down my fork and looked at her. "How old is he?" Maybe a few years older than you?" "Divorced," she said, her tone perfectly casual. But I saw her eyes flicker for just a fraction of a second. That was all I said, going back to my food. My mind was stuck on that little white bag. Why would you need the morning after pill for a routine physical? Later that night, lying in bed, Mia fell asleep almost instantly. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every strange detail of the day. Around 2 in the morning, I slipped out of bed and went to the living room to get her phone from her purse. The passcode was still our anniversary. I opened her text messages and scrolled through them. The group chat with her coworkers, texts with her mom, the usual back and forth with her best friend. It all looked normal. I was about to put the phone down when I noticed something odd. Between 1 and 5 p.m. that day, the time she was supposedly at her appointment and then napping, there was a black hole. No texts, no calls, no posts on Instagram. Nothing. That wasn't like Mia. She was glued to her phone. I checked her call log. At 3 p.m., there was a 15-minute call with a number simply saved as Mark C. I jotted the number down on a notepad, then quietly put the phone back and returned to bed. Mia stirred in her sleep, murmuring something. I leaned in closer to listen. It sounded like she was saying, "Don't." The next morning, Mia said she had to swing by the clinic to pick up her test results. "I can go with you," I offered. "No, it's fine. I can handle it." "You should get to work," she said, a little too quickly. "Okay. Well, let me see the report when you get it. I want to make sure you're healthy." Mia froze for a second, then forced a smile. "Of course. No problem." At 10 a.m., I told my boss I had to step out for a client meeting. Then I got in my car and followed her. She didn't drive toward the hospital. She drove straight to a luxury condo building in the Gold Coast. I parked across the street and waited. Half an hour later, I saw her walk out of the lobby with a man. He looked to be in his late 30s, dressed in a tailored suit, handsome in a corporate sort of way. But it was the way they said goodbye that made my blood run cold. He pulled her into an embrace that was far too intimate for a simple colleague. I raised my phone and snapped a few pictures before driving away. That evening, Mia came home waving a file folder. "Honey, got my results." All clear. I'm perfectly healthy, she announced, handing the report to me. I took it and scanned the pages. The date was correct, and all the metrics were in the normal range. But one detail stood out. The time of the examination was listed as 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. the previous day. So where was she in the afternoon? Mia, were you really just sleeping at home yesterday afternoon? I asked, testing her. Of course. Where else would I be? She replied, her voice steady. But I saw her hands tremble slightly as she put her purse down. So what's this Mark guy like? I asked, changing the subject. Oh, just a typical executive. He's good at his job, she said, disappearing into the kitchen to start dinner. I sat on the couch and pulled out my phone. I typed the number I'd written down into Google. The search results came up instantly. Mark Collier, 38, vice president at Northern Trust Bank, divorced. Public records showed he owned several properties in the city. The photo on his LinkedIn profile was the same man I'd seen her with today. Over dinner, I said casually, you should introduce me to your boss sometime. He sounds like a real go-getter. Mia's fork paused halfway to her mouth. He's really busy, and we're not that close. Not that close? But you have his personal cell number? It's for work. Totally normal, she said, her voice strained. After dinner, I offered to do the dishes. As I stood at the sink, I heard her in the living room, talking on the phone in a hushed voice. I could only make out a few key phrases. Think he suspects something. Have to be careful. Give it some time. My heart sank into my stomach. It was true. My wife was cheating on me. Chapter 2. Over the next few days, I became a spy in my own home, watching Mia's every move. Her behavior changed overnight. She was suddenly the perfect wife. Home on time every day, proactively doing chores, asking about my day with a wide-eyed earnestness. This sudden devotion was more damning than any piece of evidence. It screamed of guilt. On Wednesday night, Mia told me she had a late meeting at the office. What time do you think you'll be back? I asked. Probably after 10. Don't wait up for me. As soon as she left, I drove to her office building downtown. The skyscraper was mostly dark, except for a few lights on the upper floors. Mia's department was on the second floor, and it was completely black. I waited in my car until 11, but she never appeared. The next morning, I asked casually, how late did the meeting run last night? Almost 10:30, she answered, applying her makeup in the bathroom mirror. It was so boring. What was it about? Just the quarterly review. Total snooze fest. I just nodded, letting it drop. But a plan was already forming in my mind. That afternoon, I found a private investigator. His name was Russo, a guy in his 40s with tired eyes that told me he'd seen it all. I gave him the short version of the story and all the information I had on Mark Collier. Seen this 1,000 times, kid, Russo said with a gravelly voice. Give me a week. I'll get you what you need. I want everything, I told him. Photos, audio, video. The more detailed, the better. You got it. My rate is 20 grand. 10 up front. I sent him the money through Zelle without a second thought. Russo was efficient. He started the next day, first by running a full background check on Collier, then by tailing Mia. On Friday afternoon, the first batch of photos hit my phone. They showed Mia leaving work, not to come home, but to drive to the parking garage of a downtown mall. There, she got out of her car and slid into the passenger seat of Mark Collier's black Mercedes. They drove to a lakeside resort just outside the city. The next series of photos was a gut punch. Them holding hands as they walked into the resort lobby. Them kissing outside a room door. The last photo was time-stamped at 9 p.m. It showed them leaving the room, his arm wrapped tightly around her. My phone buzzed again. It was a text from Mia. Honey, grabbing dinner with the girls from work. Might be a late one. In that moment, I felt my heart turn to stone. 5 years of marriage. I thought I knew her. I thought we were solid. I thought she loved me. It was all a lie. When Mia got home that night, I was already in bed, pretending to be asleep. She tiptoed into the bathroom to shower, then slipped into bed beside me. In the darkness, I could smell a foreign scent on her skin. Not her perfume, but the faint, musky trace of a man's cologne. I clenched my fists under the covers, fighting back a wave of pure rage. I didn't sleep a wink. The next day was Saturday. Mia said she was going shopping with her best friend. As soon as she was out the door, I called Russo. Stay on her. I need something undeniable today. Don't worry, kid. I got 2 guys on it. They won't miss a thing. At 3 p.m., a text from Russo landed like a bomb. They're at the Drake Hotel, room 1208. My chest seized. The Drake. That's where we spent our honeymoon. She took another man there. You want me to go in? Russo texted. No, just watch the entrance. Law of the time they leave. Mia came home at 6. How was shopping? Get anything good? I asked, the fake smile plastered on my face feeling like a mask. Nah, didn't really find anything, she said. I noticed she wasn't carrying any shopping bags. Where's your friend? You should have invited her over for dinner. Oh, she had a run. Something came up, Mia said, avoiding my eyes as she hurried into the bathroom. I watched her go, a bitter mix of anger and grief churning inside me. This woman, the woman I had loved for 8 years and been married to for 5, could lie to my face without even flinching. At dinner, I tried to sound casual. You seem a little distracted lately. Is work stressing you out? No, I'm just tired, she mumbled, staring down at her plate. Maybe we should take a vacation. Get away for a bit, just the two of us. Like we used to. Her head snapped up, a flicker of panic in her eyes. I'm too busy at work right now. Maybe in a little while. Sure, I said, nodding. A little while? I thought. You mean after you've solidified things with Collier and are ready to drop the bomb on me? That night, Mia claimed she wasn't feeling well and went to bed early. I sat alone in the dark living room, scrolling through the photos and files Russo had sent me. Mark Collier, 38, divorced 2 years ago. According to the report, his ex-wife had left him for infidelity. It seemed he hadn't changed his ways. I did a deeper search on him online. He was a rising star in the banking world, known for being aggressive and manipulative. I could see how Mia might have been drawn to that, but I wasn't going to let this go. She chose this path. Now, she was going to have to deal with the consequences. I pulled out my phone and started drafting a plan. First, I needed more evidence, enough to give me the upper hand in court. Second, I had to find out how long this had been going on and if any of our money was involved. And third, when the time was right, I was going to give them both a little surprise. A reminder that betrayal has a price. Just after midnight, a final text came in for Russo. Today's surveillance report is compiled. I'll send it over in the morning. One more thing I found. Based on their digital footprint, this has been going on for at least 3 months. 3 months. My mind raced back. 3 months ago, Mia had started changing. She was dressing up more, buying new clothes, getting a new hairstyle. At the time, I thought she was doing it for me. I was a fool. I turned off my phone and walked into the bedroom. Mia was sleeping soundly, a faint smile on her lips. I wondered who she was dreaming of. I lay down beside her, looking at the face I had once adored and felt nothing but ice in my veins. Tomorrow, the real fight would begin. Chapter 3 on Sunday morning, I put on a pleasant face. Hey, let's go for a hike today. It's been forever since we got out. Mia was scrolling through her phone. Can't, she said, not looking up. I have a spa day booked with my friend. Maybe next time. Your friend again? I let a hint of annoyance creep into my voice. You two have been spending a lot of time together lately. It's a girl thing. You wouldn't get it, she said, finally meeting my gaze. Besides, I work hard all week. Don't I deserve to relax on the weekend? Of course you do. I just feel like we should spend more time together. She was quiet for a moment, then she came over and wrapped her arms around my waist. Honey, do you feel like I've been neglecting you? I'm sorry. Once things calm down at work, I promise we'll take a real vacation. Anywhere you want to go. Her touch made my skin crawl. Her acting was getting better and better. Okay, I'll hold you to that, I said, patting her back while my mind replayed the images from Russo. After she left, I received Russo's full report. It confirmed that the affair started 3 months ago during a corporate training retreat. Collier had just transferred to her branch, and Mia was assigned to showing the ropes. At the dinner after the training, he'd made his interest obvious. The next day, the constant texting began. Their first date was at a quiet cafe. The first time they slept together was at his downtown condo. Since then, they'd been meeting at least twice a week. The locations varied: hotels, resorts, and, this part made me see red, our apartment. I gripped my phone so hard I thought it would crack. He had been in my home, in my bed. The report also noted that Collier was pushing to go public with their relationship, but Mia was hesitant. Based on our surveillance, the female subject appears to be more emotionally invested than the male, Russo wrote in his summary. Recommend the client remain calm and gather more evidence before making a move. I took a deep breath, forcing the rage down. Russo was right. This wasn't the time for an explosion. I needed a flawless plan. That afternoon, I drove to Collier's condo building to scout the area. It was a sleek, modern high-rise with a doorman and valet parking. He was clearly doing well for himself. I spent an hour casing the block, noting the security cameras and entry points. Mia came home around 7. "How was the spa?" I asked. "So relaxing. My skin feels amazing," she said, admiring herself in the hall mirror. "What do you think?" I looked closer. Her cheeks were flushed, but it didn't look like the afterglow of a facial. It looked like the afterglow of a workout. "You look great," I lied. During dinner, her phone buzzed incessantly. After glancing at it several times, she said, "It's a work emergency. I need to take this on the balcony." I quietly followed her and stood just inside the sliding glass door. I could hear her hushed, frantic voice. "We can't keep doing this," he's starting to suspect. "I need more time. Just don't push me." When she came back inside, I was already back at the table, pretending I hadn't heard a thing. "Work stuff all sorted out?" I asked. "Yeah, just a minor issue," she said, but I noticed her hand was shaking as she picked up her fork. It seemed the pressure was getting to them. Later that night, I told her I had to work late on a project. In reality, I was meeting with Russo. "I need their phone conversations," I said, getting straight to the point. "That's tricky. Requires special equipment," Russo said, rubbing his chin. "And it'll cost you extra." "I don't care what it costs. I want to know every word they say to each other." "Okay, give me 3 days." When I got home, Mia was asleep. I tiptoed into the bedroom and saw her phone on the nightstand. Carefully, I picked it up. I'd already been through her main apps, but this time I dug deeper. I found a folder with a generic-looking calculator icon. I tapped it, and a password prompt appeared. It was a hidden messaging app. I tried a few passwords. Our anniversary, her birthday, my birthday. Nothing. Just as I was about to give up, an idea struck me. Collier's birthday. I typed in the 6 digits from Russo's background check. The app opened. It was a treasure trove of their affair. 3 months of messages, thousands of them. I scrolled to the most recent conversations, my blood boiling. "Mark, miss you. When can I see you again?" "Mia, Ethan's been acting weird. I think he suspects something. We need to be careful." "Mark? Then just leave him. We can finally be together for real." "Mia, just wait a little longer. I need time to figure things out." "Mark, I've waited 3 months. I'm done waiting." "Mia, what are you so worried about?" "I'm not going anywhere." "Mark, I love you. I want to be with you every day." "Mia, I love you too, but the timing isn't right." I nearly threw the phone against the wall. She was planning to leave me. She was just waiting for the right moment. I kept scrolling, and what I found next was even worse. There were records of him sending her money via Venmo, receipts for jewelry, even conversations about buying a new condo together. And Mia, she had used our joint savings account to buy him expensive gifts. I took screenshots of everything, my hands shaking with fury. Then I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it, lying in bed next to this stranger, this woman who had betrayed me so completely. I felt a profound emptiness. 8 years together, 5 years of marriage, all thrown away for this. But she wasn't going to get away with it. If she wanted a divorce, I'd give her one. On my terms. Tomorrow, I would start contacting lawyers. I would make sure she walked away with nothing. She was about to find out exactly what betrayal costs. Chapter 4. The next morning, I called in sick to work. As soon as Mia left, I was on the phone with one of the top divorce attorneys in the city. Her name was Ms. Davis, a sharp woman in her 40s with a reputation for being a shark. "Based on what you've told me," she said after I laid out the facts, "if you can provide concrete evidence of infidelity and fraudulent transfer of assets, you'll have a significant advantage in the division of property. I have photos, text messages, and I'm working on getting audio recordings." "Excellent. But there are a few things to keep in mind. First, all evidence must be obtained legally. Second, we need to prove she intentionally moved marital assets without your consent. And third, it would be beneficial if we could establish grounds for emotional distress." Ms. Davis gave me a detailed checklist of what we needed. "One more piece of advice," she added before we hung up. "Do not let her know you're onto her. Maintain the illusion of a normal, happy marriage. It will make it easier to gather what we need without her putting up her guard." I nodded. Her advice aligned perfectly with my own strategy. From the lawyer's office, I went straight to our bank and requested the statement for our joint account from the last 3 months. Just as I suspected, there were several questionable transactions. A $2,000 Zelle transfer with a memo birthday gift. A $5,000 charge at Tiffany & Co. Multiple charges at expensive downtown restaurants and hotels, all dated on weekday afternoons. I printed every single statement. This was my proof of asset transfer. That afternoon, Russo called. Got something big. You better come down to my office. When I arrived, he handed me a small audio player. This is from their car yesterday. Have a listen. The audio was crystal clear. It was Mia and Mark. I've made up my mind, Mia was saying. I'm telling him next month. Are you serious? That's fantastic. We can finally be together. I'm just worried he won't make the divorce easy. We have joint assets. Don't worry about it. Worst case, he gets half. My income is way higher than his anyway. I've already been moving some money, Mia said, her voice low. Send it to my mom's account, just in case. Smart girl. I knew you could handle it. Once the divorce is finalized, we can start our life together. My fists were clenched so tight my knuckles turned white. She wasn't just cheating. She was actively stealing from us, plotting her exit strategy down to the last dollar. Is this recording admissible in court? I asked Russo. Absolutely. It was recorded in a public space. Totally legal. Keep on them. I want to know how much she moved and where it all went. You got it. When I got home, Mia wasn't back yet. I sat in the living room, contemplating her plan to tell me next month. If she wanted to be the one to initiate the divorce, I would let her. I would let her think she was in complete control. And then at the last possible moment, I would pull the rug out from under her. Mia came home late that night, claiming she'd been at a team dinner. Another one. You guys seem to be having a lot of these lately, I said, feigning concern. It's a stressful time at the bank. Everyone's just trying to blow off some steam, she said, shrugging off her coat. Did Mark Collier join you? She froze for a split second. Yeah, he was there. He's our boss. He kind of has to be. What's he like? You guys getting along okay? He's fine. Just a normal boss, she said, avoiding my eyes as she walked toward the bedroom. I followed her. You know, if you guys have a company event or something, you should invite me. I'd love to meet your coworkers. Yeah, okay, she stammered. That night in bed, I started to formulate my counteroffensive. First, I would have every piece of evidence locked down before she could even think about asking for a divorce. Second, I would find out exactly how much money she had hidden and make sure I got every cent back. And third, Mark Collier was going to pay for this, too. The next day, I took a half day off and went back to the bank, this time to inquire about Mia's personal accounts. As her husband, I still had legal access. It was all there. Over the last 3 months, she had made multiple large transfers from her personal account, totaling over $30,000. The recipient account was in her mother's name. I printed every transaction record and added it to my growing pile of evidence. Back at the office that afternoon, I went through the motions of working, but my mind was a battlefield planning for the war to come. That evening, Mia did something she hadn't done in months. She offered to cook my favorite meal, a slow-cooked pot roast. What's the special occasion? I asked. Nothing. Just felt like doing something nice for you, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. At dinner, she kept fussing over me, reminiscing about when we first met. Remember our first date? You were so nervous you could barely speak. Of course I remember. We were just kids. Yeah, she said, a strange, wistful look on her face. Time flies. I knew what this was. This was her trying to soften the blow, creating a few warm memories to ease her conscience before she shattered my life. But I wasn't going to let her have it. Mia, I said, suddenly reaching across the table and taking her hand. I want you to know that no matter what happens, we can always be honest with each other. Her hand trembled in mine. Of course. There's nothing we can't talk about. Good, I said, releasing her hand. I thought to myself, you have no idea what honesty is about to look like. Chapter 5. That weekend, Mia announced she was going shopping with her friend again. This time, instead of showing my annoyance, I played the supportive husband. Go have fun. You deserve to buy yourself something nice. Really? In that case, I might do some serious damage, she said, seeming pleasantly surprised. Go for it. If you need more money, just let me know. The moment her car pulled out of the driveway, I was on the phone with Russo. I need something concrete today. No more holding back. At 2 p.m., my phone lit up with a text. They're at the Langham. Room 1518. Went in an hour ago. I stared at the screen, my stomach churning. At 3:30, another message came through. They're out. The woman looks upset. Looks like they were arguing. Arguing? That was new. At 4 o'clock, Russo sent the photos. They showed Mia and Mark in a heated discussion near the hotel's valet stand. Mia's face was contorted in anger, while Mark looked like he was trying to placate her. In the final shot, he grabbed her wrist. She yanked her arm away and stormed off alone. Interesting. It seemed there was trouble in paradise. Mia got home at 6, her mood dark and stormy. How was shopping? I asked, knowing the answer. It was fine. Everything was too expensive, so I didn't get anything, she mumbled. What's wrong? You seem down. Nothing. I'm just tired, she said, disappearing into the bedroom and shutting the door with a little too much force. I didn't follow. I just waited. Half an hour later, I heard her phone ring, followed by the sound of her hushed, angry voice. I crept to the door to listen. That's not what I mean. I just think it's too fast. I need time. Stop pressuring me. So, Collier was pushing for the divorce, and Mia was getting cold feet. This was good. Their conflict was something I could use. When she came out of the room, her eyes were red-rimmed. Ethan, she said, suddenly throwing her arms around me. Do you think we can ever go back to how we were? Her question caught me off guard. Was this remorse? Of course we can, as long as we both want to, I said, patting her back gently. Did something happen? No, I was just thinking. A quiet, simple life is actually pretty great. I almost laughed. So now you appreciate a simple life. Where was that appreciation when you were in a 5-star hotel with another man? But on the surface, I feigned emotion. Mia, I feel the same way. We need to cherish what we have. Yeah, she whispered, hugging me tighter. Can we try to start over? Yes. That night, for the first time in 3 months, Mia initiated sex. I went through the motions, but I felt nothing but a cold, sickening disgust. What did she take me for? Some kind of backup plan she could turn to when her affair got too complicated? The next day, Russo's detailed report arrived. It confirmed that Mia and Collier had fought. He had demanded that she file for divorce immediately, but Mia had argued that the timing wasn't right. The female subject appears to be wavering in her commitment to the affair, Russo noted. Client could apply pressure to escalate their internal conflict. Apply pressure. An idea began to form. That afternoon, I sent Mia a text. Hey, want to go to the movies tonight? Like old times. She replied almost instantly. I'd love that. You pick. That evening, we saw some generic romantic comedy. Afterward, I took her hand as we walked down the street. Mia, I feel like things have been better between us lately. Yeah, I think so too. I know I've been stressed with work, and maybe I haven't been paying enough attention to you. I'm going to be better about that. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Ethan, if I ever did something to hurt you, could you forgive me? My heart hammered in my chest. Was this it? Was she going to confess? What kind of thing? I asked, playing dumb. You know. Never mind. It's nothing, she backpedaled. Mia, we could talk about anything. Whatever it is, we can face it together. It's really nothing. Just a random thought. She couldn't do it, but it was clear she was trapped between a rock and a hard place. When we got home, I threw another log on the fire. You know what we should do? We should renovate the apartment. A whole new look for a fresh start. Renovate? She looked panicked. Wouldn't that be a huge hassle right now? Not at all. We've been here for years. It's time for an upgrade. But it would be so expensive. Money's not an issue. We've got plenty in our savings. The color drained from her face. Of course, she didn't want to spend our savings. She was planning on taking half of it in a divorce. I think it's fine the way it is, she said firmly. We don't need to renovate. Okay, if you don't want to, we won't, I said, pretending to be disappointed. I had no intention of renovating. I just wanted to see how she'd react. As I suspected, her mind was entirely focused on one thing, her exit strategy. For the next few days, I continued my performance as the doting, oblivious husband, suggesting expensive vacations and other joint financial commitments. Each time, Mia would find an excuse to say no, the guilt visibly weighing on her. Meanwhile, Russo kept me updated on her communications with Collier. Their texts were becoming more infrequent and tense. Collier was growing impatient with her hesitation. My strategy was working. The more I pulled Mia back toward our marriage, the more I pushed her and Collier apart. She was caught in a trap of her own making, and the walls were closing in. Chapter 6. It was the end of April. According to the timeline I'd overheard, this was the month Mia had planned to tell me she wanted a divorce. But the month was almost over, and she hadn't said a word. Her recent behavior suggested she was genuinely trapped, unsure of which way to turn. That indecision infuriated me. Did she think our marriage was a game? Something she could pause while she explored other options, and then unpause when it suited her? On Friday night, I decided to make my move. Mia, we need to talk, I said gravely after we finished dinner. About what? She asked, a nervous energy radiating from her. I feel like you've been hiding something from me. Her face went pale. No, I haven't. What'd I be hiding? Are you sure? I looked her directly in the eye, because I thought we agreed to be honest with each other. I'm not hiding anything, she stammered. Okay, then I'll ask you directly. I took a deep breath. Are you seeing someone else? What? She gasped, her voice shrill. How could you even ask me that? I'm not asking. I'm confirming. I pulled out my phone. Maybe you'd like to see these. The moment she saw the photo of her and Mark outside the hotel, the color drained from her face. She just stared, speechless. This is... She struggled to find the words. This is what? Why don't you explain it to me? My voice was dangerously calm, a stark contrast to the hurricane raging inside me. I can explain. Explain. I let out a harsh, bitter laugh. Explain what you were doing at a hotel with your boss. Explain why you lied and told me you were out shopping. Mia finally broke, collapsing onto the couch in a storm of sobs. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen. You didn't mean for it to happen. My voice rose. How does an affair just happen? I don't know. I got confused. Confused? I swiped to the next photo. Does this look like confusion? You've been with him for 3 months. When she saw the other pictures, she started crying harder. You've been spying on me. If I hadn't, how would I have ever known my wife was betraying me? I'm sorry. I really am. I know I was wrong. You know you were wrong? I pulled out the bank statements. Then what's this? Did you know it was wrong when you moved over $30,000 of our money into your mother's account? Seeing the bank records, her face went from pale to ghostly white. How did you find out? How I found out doesn't matter. What matters is why you were stealing our money. I wasn't. No. I held out my phone again. Then read your own messages. Read the part where you and Mark discussed how you were going to divide our assets after the divorce. She saw the screenshots of her texts, and all the fight went out of her. She knew she was caught. Ethan, don't say my name, I said coldly. You've lost that right. I know I messed up. Please, can we just start over? I'll end it with him, I swear. We can fix this. Start over? I stood up, looking down at her. Do you think our marriage is a video game? You just hit a reset button, and everything goes back to the beginning. No, I'm truly sorry. I've been thinking so much about us lately, and I realize that I still love you. You love me, I scoffed. You love me while you're sleeping with another man. You love me while you're plotting to take my money. I wasn't thinking clearly. I promise it will never happen again. Your promises are worthless. Mia fell to her knees and grabbed my leg. Please, just give me one more chance. We've been together for so long. We can't just throw it all away. Throw it away? I pulled my leg free. You already did that. No, I never wanted to end things with you. Then what do you call planning my divorce behind my back? She just sobbed, unable to answer. I looked at the woman crumpled on the floor, the woman who just months ago was strategizing with her lover about how to best screw me over, now begging me for forgiveness. I felt nothing. No pity, no sympathy, nothing. Mia, we're getting a divorce, I said, my voice flat and final. No, please don't. I know I made a mistake. This is the only way forward. I turned and walked toward the bedroom. You can sleep in the guest room. We'll go see a lawyer tomorrow. Ethan, she screamed from behind me. You can't do this to me. I stopped at the doorway and looked back at her. I'm not doing anything to you. You did this to yourself. But we have 5 years of marriage. 5 years. I let out that same bitter laugh. Did you think about those 5 years when you were in bed with him? My words hit her like a physical blow, and she collapsed into another round of heart-wrenching sobs. I didn't soften. 5 years of marriage, 8 years together. She had detonated it all without a second thought. Now she wants to talk about how precious it was. It was too late. Chapter 7. The first thing I did the next morning was call Ms. Davis. Everything is out in the open, I told her. I want to file for divorce as quickly as possible. Is all your evidence in order? She asked. It is. Photos, texts, audio recordings, bank records showing the asset transfer. It's all there. Excellent. We can draft the petition today. I want her to walk away with nothing. Given the evidence you've described, that's a reasonable position. With clear proof of infidelity and fraudulent conveyance, her legal standing is incredibly weak. Her words were a small comfort. When I got home, Mia was waiting for me in the living room. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were red and swollen, and she looked like a ghost. Ethan, is there really no chance for us? She asked the moment I walked in. None, I said, sitting across from her. I've already spoken to my lawyer. We're filing. Filing. Her eyes widened in horror. You're going to drag all of this through a courtroom? Yes. I want everyone to know what you did. No, please don't. I'll be ruined. You should have thought of that before, I said without a trace of sympathy. What? What about our assets? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. What do you think? I scoffed. You cheated on me and tried to steal our money. Do you really believe you're entitled to any of it? But I worked too. I contributed. Your contribution? I held up the bank statements. Your contribution was funneling our savings to your mother's account. She had no response. I'm going to ask you one last time, I said, my voice hard. That $30,000. Where is it? It's with my mom. I want it back in our joint account. Today. If it's not there by the end of the day, I'll file a police report for theft. Theft, she cried. It was our money. Marital assets require joint consent for major transfers. You moved it secretly. That's theft. I was stretching the legal definition, but I needed her to feel the pressure. I'll call my mom right now. Not right now. Now. On speakerphone in front of me. Her hands trembling. Mia picked up her phone and called her mother. Mom, it's me. I need you to transfer that money back. Yes. Right now. It doesn't matter why. Just do it. 10 minutes later, I got a notification from my banking app. A deposit of $30,000. Good, I nodded. Now let's talk about Mark Collier. Mark, she looked at me, terrified. What are you going to do to him? I'm going to make sure he understands that there are consequences for destroying a family. Please don't drag him into this. It was my fault, not his. Not his fault. I laughed. It takes two to tango. He knew you were married, and he pursued you anyway. He's just as guilty as you are. What are you planning to do? That's none of your concern. I wasn't sure yet what my plan was for Collier, but I knew I couldn't let him walk away unscathed. That afternoon, I went to his bank. Through a friend who worked there, I got the lay of the land. The guy's a shark for sure, my friend told me. But he's got a reputation. Word is his personal life is a mess. That's why his first wife left him. What's the bank's policy on employee conduct? For senior management? It's strict. Anything that could damage the bank's reputation is grounds for termination. A plan started to form. When I got home that evening, Mia was still waiting. Ethan, can I ask you something? She said timidly. What? If I can prove to you that I'm truly sorry, would you consider forgiving me? I looked at her, and all I could feel was a sense of tired absurdity. Even now, she was clinging to the fantasy that this could be undone. Mia, some things can't be forgiven, I said calmly. You can't glue a shattered glass back together and pretend it was never broken. But relationships can be repaired. Repaired? I shook my head. Do you think I can lie in our bed at night without picturing you with him? Do you think I could ever fall asleep next to you again? Her face crumpled, the words hitting their mark. And beyond that, I continued, do you think I could ever trust you again? Even if we stayed together, I'd spend every day wondering where you were, who you were texting. I'll let you check my phone. I don't want a wife I have to monitor, I shot back. I wanted a wife I could trust. I can be that person again. I swear. Your vows were worthless, and so is your word now. I stood up. We're signing the divorce papers. 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm not going, she said suddenly. You're not going? I stared at her. I don't agree to a divorce. A flicker of defiance sparked in her eyes. If you want one, you'll have to sue me for it. I'm not signing anything. I was taken aback. I hadn't expected this. Why? Because I still love you, and because I'm not giving up on my home. Now you love me? Now you care about our home? I always did. I got lost. I looked at her, a complicated mix of emotions swirling inside me. If I could turn back time, if none of this had ever happened, maybe we could have found our way back. But there were no do-overs. Then I'll see you in court, I said. And I'll make sure the whole world knows exactly what you did. I turned and walked to the guest room, shutting the door behind me. This war was just getting started. Chapter 8. The next day, I was back in Ms. Davis's office, officially filing the divorce petition. She reviewed my mountain of evidence, nodding with grim satisfaction. This is airtight, Ethan. You're in a very strong position. How long do you think it will take? If she contests it, it could drag on for 3 to 6 months. But given the strength of this evidence, I expect the judge will rule decisively in your favor. Let's get it started. After leaving her office, I drove directly to the corporate headquarters of Mark Collier's bank. I didn't ask for him. I asked for the head of human resources. Hello, I said, flashing a professionally made but entirely fake ID badge. I'm with the Regulatory Compliance Agency. I need to ask you a few questions about one of your vice presidents, Mr. Mark Collier. The HR director's friendly demeanor vanished. He led me immediately to a private conference room. Is there a problem with Mr. Collier? He asked. We've received an anonymous tip regarding a pattern of inappropriate behavior that may constitute a violation of your corporate ethics policy, specifically concerning his relationship with a subordinate and the potential for it to damage the bank's public image. The director's face grew stern. We have heard rumors, but nothing substantiated. Perhaps this will help. I slid a folder across the table. It contained copies of the most damning photos and text messages, with my and Mia's names redacted. He read through the file, his expression growing darker with every page. If this is true, this is a very serious matter. We trust your institution will conduct a thorough internal investigation, I said, rising to leave. The integrity of the financial sector depends on it. It was a risky move, but I had to make sure he paid a price. That afternoon, I got a text from Russo. Collier was just called into a meeting with HR and the top brass. Didn't look happy coming out. Phase 1 of my plan was a success. When I got home, Mia was waiting in the living room. She was holding an official-looking envelope. She stood up the moment she saw me. What's that? I asked. I've been served, she said, her voice flat. The court date is next week. I expected as much, I said, sitting on the couch. Have you figured out your defense yet? Ethan, she said, sitting opposite me. I'm asking you one last time. Is there really no way to fix this? What do you think? I know I was wrong. I know I destroyed your trust. But are you really going to throw away 5 years of marriage over one mistake? One mistake? I laughed coldly. A 3-month-long affair is not one mistake. I was being manipulated. I've ended it with him completely now. Ended it? I pulled out my phone. Russo sent me a picture of you two at a coffee shop this morning. You call that ending it? The blood drained from her face. He called me. I went to tell him it was over for good. And what did he say? He said I had to tell him in person that he wanted to talk. And he got angry. He said I was playing him. Then what happened? Then he threatened me. He said if I left him, he would send you everything, the texts, the pictures. I paused, processing this new information. He threatened you? Yes. She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. So, when I met him today, I was begging him not to tell you. But it was too late. You already knew. A part of me felt a flicker of something, but I quickly extinguished it. Her fear of Collier's threats didn't change the fundamental facts. Even if that's true, it doesn't change what you did, I said. I know. I'm not trying to make excuses. I just wanted you to know that I'm truly trying to come back home. It's too late. Why is it too late? If we both try, we still have a chance. Mia, do you have any idea what these last few weeks have been like for me? I said, my voice shaking with suppressed emotion. I can't sleep at night. All I see are images of you with him. I keep asking myself, why did you do it? What did I do wrong? She started to cry, silently. I've thought about forgiveness. I've tried, but every time I look at you, I see those photos. I hear those recordings. I can't forget it, and I can't forgive it. Time heals everything. No, it doesn't, I said, shaking my head. Some wounds don't heal. They just scar over. Then what am I supposed to do? She sobbed. I don't want to lose you. You should have thought about that before you lost yourself. What if I help you make him pay? Could you forgive me then? I looked at her, surprised by the suggestion. What do you mean? I can testify against him. I can say he pressured me, that he abused his position of power. You want to lie to ruin him? It's not a lie. He did pursue me first. I was silent for a moment. It was true that her cooperation would make my case against Collier even stronger. But it would mean she was trying to win me back by betraying her lover. Could I ever trust a woman like that? No, I said finally. I have my own way of dealing with him. And what about me? You really won't give me one more chance? Chances are for people who deserve them, I said, standing up. You don't. I walked to the guest room, leaving her alone with her tears. My words were cruel, I knew, but they were the truth. Betrayal is a choice, and it has no excuse and no second chances. A week later, we were in court. I wore my best suit and brought a briefcase filled with every piece of evidence. Mia was there with her lawyer, looking prepared to fight for her share. The judge was a woman in her 50s with a no-nonsense expression. We are now in session for the divorce proceedings of Miller versus Thompson, she announced. Ms. Davis spoke first, laying out the case with clinical precision. She detailed the infidelity, the secret transfer of marital assets, and submitted the evidence binder. When the photos and text messages were displayed on the courtroom monitor, a low murmur rippled through the gallery. Mia's lawyer tried to argue that it was a temporary lapse in judgment and pleaded for the court to consider reconciliation. The judge looked over her glasses at the evidence, her expression growing colder by the second. Ms. Thompson, the judge addressed Mia directly. Do you admit to the facts presented by the plaintiff? Mia stood, her voice trembling. Your Honor, I admit I made a terrible mistake, but I was hoping for a chance to atone for it. Marriage is not a game, Ms. Thompson, the judge said sternly. Once trust is broken, it is seldom repaired. The discussion then turned to the division of assets. Ms. Davis argued that, as the party at fault, Mia should forfeit her claim to the majority of the marital property. Mia's lawyer fought back, insisting that even with her indiscretion, she was entitled to an equitable share. They argued for nearly an hour. Finally, the judge called a recess, stating she would deliver her verdict in 1 week. As I was leaving the courthouse, Mia ran to catch up with me. Ethan, wait. What is it? I stopped, but didn't turn to face her. Can we just talk for a few minutes? One last time. I glanced at my watch and gave a short nod. We sat in a sterile cafe near the courthouse. I know you hate me, she began, her voice raw, and I know there's no going back for us. Good, but I need you to know that I've done a lot of thinking. And I do love you. I loved you more than I ever realized. I just stared at her, my expression unreadable. You probably don't believe that, but it's true. When I was with Mark, I just kept thinking about you, about when we first met, about all the good times we had. What's the point of saying this now? There is no point. I just wanted you to know that losing you is the biggest regret of my life. Regret doesn't change anything. I know, she said, wiping a tear from her cheek. I also wanted to tell you, Mark was fired from the bank. I feigned surprise. Oh, really? Yeah. The official reason was a violation of their code of conduct. His career is ruined. He had it coming. I guess that's some kind of justice for you. I didn't respond. Finally, she said, I wanted to ask you for one thing. What? When we divide our things, can I keep some of the photos? And a few keepsakes? Not for their value, just for the memories. I thought for a moment, then nodded. Fine. Thank you. We sat in silence for a while longer. Finally, I stood up to leave. Ethan, she called out. What now? I'm sorry. I am truly, deeply sorry. I heard you, and her voice cracked. I hope you find someone who truly loves you, someone who would never betray you. I looked at her, the woman who was once my entire world, now a complete stranger. I will, I said, and walked out without looking back. Leaving the cafe, a wave of relief washed over me. It was finally over. A week later, the judge's ruling came down. The divorce was granted. Due to her proven infidelity and fraudulent actions, Mia was awarded only a small fraction of our assets. The house, the cars, and the bulk of our savings were all awarded to me. After the verdict was read, I saw Mia break down in tears. I felt nothing. This was the price of betrayal. Chapter 10, after the divorce was finalized, I felt lighter than I had in years. The marriage had ended in fire and ash, but from it, I had reclaimed my freedom. Mia moved out of the house and went back to live with her parents. A mutual friend told me she wasn't doing well, that the scandal had followed her to her job. But that was no longer my concern. Mark Collier's fate was even worse. Not only was he fired, but the story of his affair spread through the city's tight-knit financial community like wildfire. His professional reputation was in tatters. Russo told me Collier had tried to contact Mia several times after he was fired, but she refused to see him. The man who had promised her a new life had abandoned her the second things got tough. That was the true cost of their affair. They had both lost everything, and the new relationship they destroyed our marriage for was built on nothing but lies. 6 months later, a friend introduced me to a woman named Chloe. She was a few years younger than Mia, smart and kind, having just returned from working abroad for a multinational firm. With Chloe, there were no games, no hidden motives. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. A year later, we were engaged. At our engagement party, surrounded by old friends, everyone remarked on how happy I looked. "It's good to see you smiling again, Ethan," one of them said. "It's amazing what finding the right person can do," I replied, squeezing Chloe's hand. Later that evening, I received a text from an unknown number. "Congratulations. I'm happy you found real happiness." I knew, instinctively, that it was from Mia. I didn't reply. I just deleted the message. The past was the past. I had no desire to ever look back. 2 years later, Chloe and I were married. The wedding was beautiful, filled with laughter and joy. As I stood at the altar, looking at my new wife, I felt a sense of peace and rightness that I had never known before. This time I knew it was real. Our life together was simple and happy. Chloe was a loving and supportive partner. We talked about everything. We never hid things from each other. The foundation of our relationship was built on the one thing my last one had lacked: absolute trust. Sometimes a fleeting memory of Mia would surface, a ghost from that dark period of my life. But the anger and pain were gone. That experience, as agonizing as it was, had taught me a valuable lesson about what truly matters. 3 years after our wedding, our first child was born. Holding my daughter in my arms, I felt a love so profound it eclipsed everything that had come before. This was the life I had always wanted. A loyal wife, a warm home, a beautiful child. I heard through the grapevine that Mia eventually remarried to a quiet guy who worked for the city. I hope, for her sake, that she learned her lesson. Everyone has the right to make their own choices, but they also have to live with the consequences. As for me, I had walked through the fire and come out the other side. I was no longer a victim of someone else's betrayal. I was the architect of my own true happiness. End.